Hello, everybody. My name is Birgit Halbreiter. I'm the co-owner and founder of MouCo Cheese Company, together with my husband, Robert. And we've been in business now for 20 years, which seems crazy because every day still feels like we're learning new stuff, which we totally do. And then, of course, the world throws you always new challenges, like 2020 and 2008 was quite an awakening, and everything in between, right? We had to learn how to become a business, how to deal with distributors, how to not just make cheese, but do all these other things that come along when you run a business. All right. Cheese paper. Soft-ripened cheeses need air. They cannot just be shrink wrapped because it just kills them, because they have the surface organisms growing there. And so we have to keep them alive. And the paper that we use is actually from my hometown, which is actually a funny story. We were driving, Robert came with me to visit. And so he's in the back of the car and he tunes out, because his German is limited. And then, so when I chat with my family, he just tunes out and looks out the window, and then he taps me and he says, "What does that say?" We just were passing some truck. And so I look over and I said, "Oh, that's a foil company, right?" And so he jots down the name and Googles them, and they are actually the biggest supplier for soft-ripened cheese paper in the area, because guess what? It's the area of soft-ripened cheeses. So it totally makes sense. And it's just funny that they're actually in my hometown. So this paper is like a 3-layered paper, metal, plastic, and paper, and it's perforated to let the oxygen in and the CO2 out. And that really makes it possible for the cheese to keep its integrity for the whole shelf life, which is about 2 months for the bloomy rind cheeses and 3 months for the washed rind cheese. And where is it? Here we go. I don't know if you can see that, but we are stamping 3 dates on the back, with the last one being kind of the expiration date that we have to put on by law. And all the cheesemakers and cheesemongers know that cheese doesn't necessarily go bad, of course, but by law we have to put a date on there. And however, the other 2 dates are just an indication for the consumer to know how the cheese changes over its shelf life. Soft-ripened cheeses has a lot of goes through a lot of changes, a lot more than hard cheeses. And as I explain it in my tours that I give here, hard cheese goes harder as it ages and becomes crumblier. And soft-ripened cheeses does exactly the opposite. It goes from firm to soft and gooey or runny, depending on the water content of your cheese. And it loses the tanginess and gives way to the sweetness or stinkiness, or however you want to describe it, depending also on the style of cheese. And so we've always felt, with part of that education process, that we had to explain to people how their cheese will change in the fridge. And I also find that our cheeses are really great beginners cheeses, especially when they're young. They're non-offensive, they're not super of anything, right? We're making mild cheeses, very approachable cheeses, and can convince people then, hey, this is a great beginner cheese. Why don't you now age this cheese and wait what happens in 2 months? Anyways, I think our cheeses are really approachable and are a great educational tool to expose people to new flavors and new tastes. And then they can explore from there. And that's why we felt it was necessary to have 3 dates on there, because the cheeses with their shorter shelf life compared to hard cheeses, that they are aware what's in their fridge and what happens within a few weeks. Is we were so fortunate in March when everything just shut down that people here in Colorado were just very much embracing the local and the super local, or whatever it's called, and embracing us. And I mean, it really warms my heart and almost brings me to tears, because I'm so grateful for them that they kept us in business for those 2 months that were definitely like not knowing when things would open back up and how things will look like when they do open up. And so big shout out to all of the Colorado community. They are driving to places they have never driven before, just to pick up local products that are not in all stores, and they make an effort, and that is really what keeps small businesses in business.